soup? Welcome to Tales to Morrow. I'm Morrow, your storyteller for today, and with me I have some more RPG horror stories. Now that the summer is basically over and it's coming to fall, I can't wait till it's like December. I live in part of North Carolina where it like snows once every like 5 to 10 years, and I'm hoping this year we might actually have some snow. As a tiefling, you would think it'd be a little bit weird for me to be excited about snow, but my Slavic Russian blood demands snow. I need that carnal desire to feel snow on my hand and on my face and being pelted by snowballs. Regardless of my weird snow obsession, let's get some RPG horror stories for today. That time I failed to lockpick a door because the DM thought no rogues equals no passable DC. Hey y'all, I thought I'd share this as something my friends and I have turned into an inside joke and meme. This is a short and much more lighthearted tale. It's from a Pathfinder 1e game I had since left, and happened about a year ago. I'm playing a kobold alchemist who is the party's skill monkey, scout, and effective rogue. We're in a dungeon, and in this dungeon and the previous one, the DM kept having us run into stuck doors we could only bash down with strength checks. Eventually the DM gets the hint we don't like wasting time on doors that have only one solution, so he begins to introduce locked doors. However, despite my character having a locksmith, i.e. thieves' tools, made for them very early on in the campaign, I try to open the door and roll a nat 27 on my disable device check, and I'm told the door wasn't unlocked. Now at the time I didn't know that skill checks are not auto success if you're nat 20, but this wasn't like the door to the King's Royal Chamber that would warrant such a high DC. These were old, decrepit, rotten wooden doors in 1,000-plus-year-old tombs of precursor race. And what's worse is after I fail the check, the fighter walks up and bashes the door down his first try. Needless to say, the whole party lambasted the DM over this, and it clearly was BS. To which the DM replied, "Sorry, I thought there was no rogue in the party, so the DC didn't need to be passable." Yeah, he completely forgot I had locksmith tools made early in the campaign, so I could do rogue stuff. Anyways, later door had fair DCs and we stopped running into so many stuck doors as well. This one encounter had left me with an annoying yet funny story that I like to meme around with. It's not my inability to pick an old lock, it's a joke about how many stuck doors we think a dungeon will have. I can't believe I have to say this, but you don't need a rogue to pick a door. Other classes can gain proficiencies from backgrounds or whatever, what have you, or maybe even feats too. They allow them to do a skill really well. For example, my ranger has thieves' tool proficiency and has expertise in lock picking, and you could easily pick locks. That's kind of what he's built to do. Good stealth, good sleight of hand, good lock picking, that's basically what he does. You don't need to play a rogue necessarily to do that. Anybody can be a lock picker for you as long as they have the good proficiency and don't end up rolling so many natural ones. Either way, a silly story. I'm glad it didn't become like a permanent thing that ended the campaign. Let's get to the next story for today. DM bans everything to do with my character because he can't kill them fast enough. I was introduced to Lancer, a mech-based TTRPG by the DM. I came up with a character who would prioritize survival all over other engineering considerations. The metal mark seemed like a good option, combined with specialization in infiltration. In D&D terms, think of a rogue build for capitalizing on distractions. DM seemed frustrated with how effective the invisibility effect I was getting were. I should be clear that I was a complete beginner to the system, and even if I wanted to break the game, I wouldn't know how. I pointed the DM towards actions meant to counter stealth effects, but after getting some bad rolls and some unrelated frustrations, he canceled the session early. The next morning I see a message in a group chat about how every action, specialization, and effect related to my class was completely banned going forward. The mech I chose, the skills I chose, even the ability to hide at all were to be permanently and immediately excluded from the game. I left the group after that. I heard Lancer was an extremely fun mech-based TTRPG, and at some point I think it'd be super fun to play, but the fact that the DM can't handle something as basic as, starter? I'm pretty sure this like some starter-ass features basically. Imagine you become a rogue, and you get expertise in stealth, and suddenly the DM gets so butthurt that it can detect your rogue because you have expertise in stealth because you started with that at 3rd level. Well, now we gotta ban all expertise in stealth, and nobody can be stealth, and all the features of rogue are just not there. Okay, well that sounds really lame. I'm out of here. Yeah, this DM sounds like maybe they don't know the rules or something. I don't know anything about Lancer at all, but there has to be some counter stealth mechanics that you can easily implement. There gotta be. There's no way there isn't any. Any game that has stealth always has counter stealth. If Lancer for whatever reason doesn't have any mechanics for counter stealth, the DM can't even just Google some methods to counter stealth, then I mean either a really bad DM or the system might be broken. I'm not sure. I have no idea. I don't know. It's not worth it banning the entire set of features just because you can't handle them. It's just really dumb. Imagine you playing D&D and Paladin smites and DM is like, wait, how'd you do so much damage? It's my feature? All smites are banned now. Yeah, that's great, DM. Awesome. You're ruining the fun for everybody. Anyway, let's get to the last story for today. DM started describing detailed lead up to a struggle snuggle scenario with no warning. I made an account to post this story, though I've been following this sub for a while. I legit thought it would never happen to me, but now I know better, I guess. I've been playing with this group for a couple of months now. At first, I was very excited, especially since my girlfriend was going to be the DM. Not knowing too much about D&D, I struggled with the mechanics, which was why I was especially excited for this session, which she promised was going to be roleplay focused. There were a few banned topics with the game, none of which included sexual assault specifically, though I kinda assumed there wouldn't be any graphic descriptions of that since explicit sexual content was not allowed. There were no established safety tools either, which I straight up didn't realize until the moment I needed them. Please put safety tools in your game even if you don't think you need them. I promise you'll be very glad they exist when you do. I had struggled with playing D&D in the past due to social anxiety, memory issues, and not understanding the mechanics, but the other players, especially the regular DM, have been very helpful when I forgot things so far, and reassured me they weren't annoyed that I kept asking the same question over and over again. This session started off well enough too. The main event was basically a character asking a series of questions to the whole table, and having them answer one at a time before giving his own answer to each question. Might have been a little inefficient, but I didn't care and was willing to let the session go long or continue to the next session as necessary. I was used to these sessions going a little slow anyway, as my girlfriend was new to DMing and often tried experimental stuff like a huge battle, where she needed to control and roll for a bunch of allies as well as enemies. Well, we didn't get past the first question. What is your story? It went alright until everyone had answered the question, save the character who had asked in the first place. Truth be told, I don't really remember or care to recount how it started, but he got taken in by a wizard who professed to need an apprentice, and then, well, he started to describe in an odd amount of detail how the wizard came onto him. How he said he was asexual and it didn't dissuade the wizard. How the wizard took him to a barn, and that's when I raised my hand. I could barely believe what I was hearing. I couldn't think straight. I said something like, hey, can we talk about something else? They assumed I was speaking in character until I realized that, clarified I was not, that I was out of character uncomfortable. My girlfriend proceeded to send the portion of the speech she had written for that character to the other players in front of me. I don't honestly think she realized that would also be upsetting to me. She even said that it gets worse, referring to the speech story she'd written for him. I got a concern about your girlfriend. Why is she writing such gratuitous sexual assault things as a character backstory? And why is it being just offloaded and dumped on you guys just immediately upon meeting a character? Why do we need to know? Why do we need to know this? Why is this just being just like offloaded like a pushing over a dumpster onto you guys? What's going on? She knows I'm on the asexual spectrum. She knows I will sometimes have periods of time when I'm completely repulsed by anything sexual or sex related, and that people have refused to respect my boundaries in those situations. She still seems surprised that when I told her I had gone through a very similar situation to the character she wrote. She was worried that I was upset with her, and I fawned. I told her I wasn't upset. I went over and gave her a hug. Told her it was okay, even though I still felt deeply betrayed and exposed. I don't know how to even begin to address the situation with her, because she seemed so upset about accidentally triggering me, but then went on to share that trigger information with others directly in front of me. I don't know if that's a reasonable thing for me to feel upset about. If you have a trauma that's involved in your private life and somebody shares or divulges any part of that trauma without your permission or without you directly asking if that's okay to do, I'm gonna say right now, maybe your girlfriend has good intentions, but that specific thing, divulging people's traumas, is not okay to do. If they want to talk about the trauma in the past by themselves and what they experienced, that's up to them to decide, or with your specific permission. It's not up to her to decide to basically just oust your traumas just directly right then and there. Maybe most people might not see it as a problem, but I feel like it's kind of a privacy thing. Regardless of if you're a significant other that you've been together for a year, even if somebody that you're married to, I don't think it's really the place to divulge these sort of personal things about you, especially private things regarding traumas. It's just not their place to do. If I was with somebody, I wouldn't be divulging their private stuff, and I wouldn't want them to divulge my private stuff. It's not okay. It's just not okay thing to do. It's privacy. Privacy is kind of important. So when you divulge privacy like this, it kind of breaks trust and usually doesn't end up good. Sexual violence is now on a list of banned topics, and I've mentioned establishing safety tools, or at least an X card, though I said it should be discussed later as I didn't feel up to having any sort of serious conversation immediately after all that. But right now I still feel betrayed and unsafe. I don't know how to talk about this with my girlfriend. We've had issues like this where she's unintentionally triggered me before. We've been able to discuss it after taking time to cool down, but it keeps happening in different ways and I struggle so much with addressing it that I'm worried I'm not doing it right, that I'm fawning too much and accepting the bare minimum because that's what I'm used to. I'm open to suggestions, but I really do trust my girlfriend with most issues aside from this one. She's been through a lot as well, and we're both still learning to assert boundaries, but maybe D&D isn't right for me right now.
Hi, Editor Morrow here, stepping in for Recording Morrow because apparently Recording Morrow just was completely brain dead and didn't ask any of the important questions that clearly needed to be asked because, oh my god, there's so much to unpack in the story. First off, we have the OP's girlfriend, who is the DM, who's running extremely gratuitous sexual material in the session. And my first question is this normal for their sessions? We know OP was playing with this group for a couple of months now because that's what they said in the story. So I'm guessing maybe at first things were going just fine, hunky-dory, peachy, but then suddenly out of nowhere, I'm guessing either in the beginning of the entire story, maybe in the very beginning, or somewhere midway through, it wasn't exactly specified, before they were able to ask the first question for an NPC, they were just offload about basically this NPC trauma dumping on them about a wizard that did the naughty bad SA stuff that you shouldn't be doing, and that's where OP raised our hand and said, hey, I'm not comfortable with this sort of thing. And listen, it's okay to not be comfortable. Not every topic has to be covered in a TTRPG. It's a place where you want to have fun, and sometimes having to deal with trauma during TTRPG probably is not going to be a good thing. But specifically for this OP, the trauma backstory that GF divulged for this NPC kind of seemed to relate to OP's personal trauma. What I find it kind of funny is that after you said, hey, I'm not okay with this, can we move on, she still ended up basically giving everybody else the written version of the backstory just so they can read it. She didn't just say, okay, sorry, we're just gonna move past that and just put it away. No, she wanted the rest of the players to read it, and she even said it gets worse, which means she actively wrote this out before session and had this prepared and ready. It was probably, I'm gonna take a wild guess, looking forward to talk about their traumatized NPC. And I guess it kind of makes me question what sort of things your girlfriend is into, because if this is the kind of thing she is excited to write, I mean, I gotta be honest, I think your girlfriend might be kind of a freak, and I mean it with all due respect. Everybody has the kinks, and as weird and sometimes very disturbing as they are, there is a time and place for it, but I don't think it was at this specific table. I think your girlfriend was actually really looking forward to sharing this because they're kind of maybe into it, or they're into dark traumatic stuff and find that interesting. Whichever one it is, I can't say for sure, but clearly they spend time writing and thinking about it. Second thing that I find extremely weird is that if you guys talked about the previous trauma before, she's using that trauma that you told her about before as inspiration for writing this NPC's backstory, and she's basically regurgitating and reiterating the trauma that you told her into this character. I hope she didn't go like, oh yeah, this is based on my significant other, the OP, sitting in front of us, so that's where the whole thing comes from, because I don't think it's a good thing for couples to divulge private information, especially traumatic information that is told to you. People tell each other secrets, especially if you're in a relationship, for a reason, because you would want to try to build trust, and especially if you want to open up about something you're vulnerable about, just so you can have a little bit of that support and not feel like you're dealing with this trauma alone. And when we play TTRPGs, sometimes you get to deal with dark themes because it is kind of exciting sometimes dealing with something grim and dark and having this kind of adversity that you're fighting against and triumphing over. But then there are also times where you just don't want to deal with trauma, don't want to be in therapy, you just want to play TTRPG and have that escapism. I get you can have traumas in TTRPGs. Sometimes the best thing to really use for TTRPGs is escapism. Not have to think about traumas, not have to think about stresses, not have to think about things that make you feel anxious. Instead, unplug yourself and have that escapism and immersion into a different character, disassociating from your IRL situation in order to enjoy a fantasy one for a few brief hours. for OP's last point about the question whether D&D is right for them or not, I'll let you know right now, OP, most games are probably not going to be run with a trauma dumping about SA in the very beginning. I think this is not a situation of the D&D isn't right for you, but maybe the specific DM, your girlfriend. Maybe your DM girlfriend's style of DMing is not right for you. Potentially, I would give it a try, further sessions, see if things improve. If that doesn't work out, I recommend maybe looking up games online and finding other DMs out there that play. You probably have friends of friends that also DM. Maybe you could try playing with them and see and experience how it is. Or if you really want to just run your own games, you could always just start your own games in your own sessions and be your own DM and decide how you want to run games yourself, avoiding certain topics and being tactful and practicing and trying DMing for yourself. Either way, I would recommend having a serious talk with your girlfriend, not just as a couple, but as a player to DM, and figuring out the do's and don'ts, what to avoid for the future, and how to communicate the stuff properly without having a complete unnecessary trauma dumping over something that you don't really wanted to deal with. Because listen, I understand, sometimes you just want to play some TTRPGs as escapism, or maybe sometimes you may want to deal with certain traumas using TTRPGs, but you gotta communicate and decide with your DM on what you want your TTRPG experience to be. Are you playing D&D to get over traumas and get over past stuff, or are you playing just to have fun, unplug, relax, and forget who you are for a little bit and play Grognak the Barbarian? Talk with your DM, your girlfriend, decide what you guys want to do as a player and DM, and also as a couple, and different boundaries. Establish set boundaries, try not to fawn whenever these sort of things happen, and deal with this like adults. I know it's got a little bit rambly, but I just really hated how Recording Morrow didn't say anything smart or anything intelligent whatsoever. It was just a lot of blabbering. It's a lot of yapping that didn't really do much. I kind of did a little bit yapping here, but hopefully my talking here had a little bit more substance than Recording Morrow. Anyway, I've spoken too much. Outro Morrow, please take us out for the end of this video.
And with that, that's going to be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching, and thanks so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down, or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales tomorrow. Bye-bye.